with their students in the video, which, yikes. Honestly, what are you, a teacher or an influencer? So I put up a poll on my channel asking how you feel about teacher talk, and the results were interesting. The majority of you are either conflicted or you think it just shouldn't be a thing at all, which brings us here today. I want to dive into the whole world of teacher influencers on TikTok, and full transparency, I'm conflicted too. If you voted that you're conflicted, I'm conflicted too. Because the reality is, teachers are out here buying their own classroom supplies, decorations, even basic necessities on salaries that barely cover their living outside of school. A lot of them are even working second jobs just to make ends meet. So yeah, if they can make a little bit of extra income by posting around the job that they're already doing, I totally get it. But here's where things get messy. Not all of them are doing it in a way that feels responsible, and teacher talk is still new enough that if one person crosses a line, it could ruin the opportunity for everyone else. I've also seen some pretty big red flags when it comes to students' privacy and safety in what's being posted. So today I really wanted to talk about it, look into all different types of teacher influencers out there, the ones that are doing it in a way that maybe makes sense, or maybe at least they're on the right track, and also look at the influencers on TikTok that are teachers that are not doing it in a way that makes sense at all. I want this to be a conversation because I don't think it's as black and white as being good or bad. I think there's a lot of gray area with this, so grab a drink and let's get right into the video. So overall, I am very pro teacher. I mean, unless you're out here doing something, criminal level with your students or involving your students, I think that teachers are incredible. Of course, there is always going to be a few bad apples out there, no pun intended, but the same can be said in literally any profession. But as a whole, in general, teachers deserve so much more support than what they get. And honestly, that's a big reason why I put off doing this video. I've been wanting to do this kind of video for a while now. But here's the thing. Some of the teachers on TikTok, the teacher talk content that I've been seeing lately just feels off. Like, kind of icky. And my first thought was, okay, it's only a matter of time before one teacher takes it too far and ruins it for everyone. Then suddenly schools start cracking down and teachers aren't going to be allowed to film anything, no matter if it's during their break, after hours, or whatever. And I think it's really important to actually have a conversation about this, about how teacher content can be done in a responsible way, in a way that doesn't end up blowing up in everyone's faces. So let's start with something that I think we can all agree on should be a universal no when it comes to teacher content, and that is showing the kids. And if you've been on my channel for a while, that's not going to surprise you that that's my take. Children should not be used for content, period. And I think that whole discussion about, kids being used as content it always falls under the family vlogger realm, but really this needs to also apparently be talked about with teacher content on TikTok. Let's look at an example. There's a pretty big account run by a teacher named Kayla. She's sitting at almost 500,000 followers on TikTok with close to 11 million likes. Her content is super popular, and if you scroll her most viewed videos, they all feature kids front and center.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All my pom poms for you. Pretty cute. 10, 11, 12. Do you want a new orange?
Yeah.
Okay. Woo! 5 pom poms. Go put it away. Looks good. That was really good, Tinsley.
I obviously blurred the kids' faces in these video clips that I showed you, but my biggest question is, do all of these kids' parents know that they are on this massive TikTok? And if they do know it, how are they okay with it? I saw someone commenting asking if she had permission to film the students, and her response was basically, yeah, she worked it out with her district attorney and used FERPA to protect herself. Which, okay, great that you're protected, but what about your students? What about the kids? Who's protecting them in this situation? And just so we're all on the same page, if you are not I didn't know what FERPA was, so I looked it up. And FERPA is the federal law that is supposed to protect the privacy of students' education records. Basically, it gives parents and students rights over these records, like being able to see them, fix errors, or decide when certain information can be shared. And it applies to any schools that get federal funding. So it really is about records and identifiable information, not necessarily about having your kids pop up on TikTok videos. Someone else wrote a comment saying that most of the time teachers have parents sign a release at the beginning of the year for pictures and videos. And that was my first thought. I've seen these media forms before, the ones that ask if it's okay if your child appears in certain types of media that the school might produce. But in my mind, at least before I did this video, I always thought that meant things like the school's website, their Facebook page, maybe a newsletter. That's it. At no point would I have assumed it applied to teachers' personal social media accounts. And I wonder how many of these parents out there signing these type of forms are thinking the same thing. Because here's the difference. I would like to think and hope that a school's official media is very monitored and regulated. But a TikTok account with say hundreds of thousands to up to millions of followers, that's a whole other story. You cannot control that unless if you turn the comments off altogether. But even so, you can't control who's, viewing the content, if they're saving it, if they're sharing it. I mean, what if some total creep starts fixating on a kid that they keep seeing pop up in these videos? It wouldn't take much to figure out what school this kid goes to, what their name is, what days they have school, when they don't have school. That person could show up to the school. I mean, anything's possible. And I know that some people might think that I'm being dramatic, but when you've got millions of eyes on a video with students in it, you have no idea who's watching. That's just one of the many dark scenarios that could play out. And personally, it's not a risk that's worth taking for the sake of a viral video. And even on a less dramatic level, the Today Show actually reached out to this teacher asking if she filmed the video and if they could use it. So imagine being a parent. You sign a release form thinking that your kid might show up on the school's Facebook page, and suddenly they're on national TV. Totally different ballgame. And on a side note, I don't think that schools should have Facebook pages where they're posting the students' faces on it, but that's a different story. I'm telling you though, I came across so many TikToks from different teachers where students' faces and even their names were shown or said. And to me, that feels like a major breach of privacy. And honestly, how is that any different from what family vloggers do? That kids do not get a say in it, and they definitely cannot give informed consent. They're just going to go along with whatever their teacher asks because that's what kids are taught to do. Listen to their teacher. Now, I will say this, most of the teachers who are using their kids in content do blur out the faces. And sure, blurred is better than nothing, but my issue is that the kids are being included at all. To me, it's still inappropriate. If it were my child, I wouldn't be okay with them showing up in the content that's being used to build someone else's social media following, blurred or not. I mean, the question needs to be asked, why do these teachers feel the need to include the kids in the first place? Aren't they, the teacher, enough to make the TikTok content do well? And if they're not, maybe that's a sign not to be doing TikTok, at least in the form of being a teacher. And then there are the teachers who film themselves during lessons or while talking to the students one-on-one. We may not see the kids, but we do hear their voices. And I have a problem with that too for a couple different reasons. And I promise you, I don't have a problem with all of the teacher TikTok content. I know it sounds like it right now. I don't, but we'll get to that. But first off, when it comes to the blurred content, even if it's more of an indirect way, the kids are still being used for content, or at least for part of the content. And beyond that, let's be real. When you're filming yourself, you can't be 100% focused on your actual job. You're at least partly thinking about the camera angles, the lighting, how you look, all of it. So when teachers are recording content during class, are they really fully present for their students? I think that would be tough. And at the end of the day, and this might sound harsh, they're being paid to teach. Nobody goes into teaching for the paycheck. And yes, teachers deserve to be paid better. But the reality is the job they signed up for is to educate students. If I were a parent and my kid's teacher was making TikToks during the school hours while my child was in the classroom, I would not be okay with it at all. I've also seen plenty of TikToks from high school teachers filming content with their students. Now, yes, they're still minors, but one could argue that a 16-year-old is at least more capable of giving informed consent than, say, a 6-year-old. But even then, should a teacher really be filming content with their students, even if they are a bit older? Sure, it probably makes them the cool teacher, but to me, it just still feels inappropriate. And if those videos are monetized in any way, that raises another question. The students, I would think, can't be paid, but shouldn't they technically be entitled to a cut if their faces are helping drive views? The whole thing just feels like one giant gray area. And honestly, I just don't think it belongs in the classroom in the first place. But I'm curious what you think about that one with high school students. In a way, I mean, maybe if it engages the students more, makes them more excited to go to school, but I don't know. I don't like it. It just doesn't sit well with me. And I saw one of you comment this when I put up the poll. You can sometimes see kids in the background who are sitting at their desks and they clearly don't want to participate, but they're still being shown in the video. And if they were to say, "Hey, can you blur out my face?" they probably would feel kind of embarrassed to ask that. So again, let's just not film during class time. Now, with all that being said, if a teacher wants to film their content during their lunch break or after hours, before school, that's a totally different conversation. And we are going to get into that in a bit. But there's one teacher I knew I couldn't not mention because she's talked about a lot. People don't really seem to like her. Her name is Noelle Loves Sloths on TikTok. She teaches high school, I believe. But honestly, after scrolling through her account, I have to say, at least from what I saw in my quick scroll, she actually seems to be handling teacher talk in a pretty sensible way as far as student boundaries go. Not only is her content potentially helpful for other teachers, but she also does a really solid job of keeping her students private, which I respect. Now, I think where Noelle starts to lose respect from people, aside from the whole, she starts a question and then takes a bite of food and then answers the question thing, which is annoying. And I think people don't like that. I get it. I'm like, well, what's the point? Why are you doing that? Why don't you just answer the question and then eat? Anyway, but it's that she blurs the line between teacher and influencer. On one hand, she's posting a lot of teacher related content, but then she's also making videos basically begging brands to notice her and sending her freebies.
The fact that it is the third year in a row that the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, the city in which I live, the third year in a row that the Chiefs have made it to the Super Bowl, and I have not been invited by the Super Bowl, by the Chiefs, by any brands. Yeah, it feels personal at this point. It really does. I go to the games. I post about going to the games. I wear my Chiefs gear every single week on Fridays and sometimes on other days too. Sundays, obviously, as well. I don't know what else I have to do. I am such a huge fan. Ever since I have moved onto Kansas City soil, which I have been living in the Kansas/Kansas City area for almost 10 years now. Ever since I moved here, I've been a Chiefs fan. Not only that, I've been a football fan my entire life. Huge football fan. I watch 6 hours of football every single Sunday. Like, it is my life. I love it so much. And I post about it a lot. And so the fact that I haven't been invited, yeah, I'm heartbroken, especially when I get to see all of these amazing influencers who get invited every year and they have no connection to either team involved in the Super Bowl and sometimes no connection to football whatsoever. Yeah, I want to be invited. So just take this as my application. Brands. I love to eat. I love to drink. I love everything. So that won't be an issue. So if you want to bring me to the Super Bowl in New Orleans this year, I am also a huge Chiefs fan. Like, you will not regret it. I promise. Yeah, it feels personal that I haven't been invited, honestly. It feels personal. I know it's not, but it feels that way. Go Chiefs.
And it's not just Noelle. There are a lot of teachers doing, teacher/influencer content who are just, like I said, kind of blurring the lines on things. Unboxing PR packages, showing off brand deals, even making sponsored content with their students in the video, which yikes. But with all that being said, that's where, again, we're hitting a gray area because honestly, what are you, a teacher or an influencer? Here's my take. If you want to do sponsor content, brand deals, ads, all of that, that needs to happen outside of school hours. Because during the school day, you signed up to be a teacher, not an influencer. And in that setting, your focus should be on teaching. Unless if it's on your lunch break, maybe. I don't know, that's just my opinion. Honestly, though, any teacher I've ever talked to or even teachers online whenever I was doing research and they were venting, they all kind of say the same thing. They barely have time to eat lunch, let alone film TikTok videos. So I don't know where these teachers are finding the time. Which I guess now that I think about it is why so many of them are filming during class time. But I also wonder how many teachers end up feeling a little bit discouraged scrolling through these videos. Their classrooms might not look Pinterest perfect, or they might not have the luxury of free supplies being sent from big brands while still working hard every day. It's easy to see how that could make someone feel like they're falling short, even if they're doing an amazing job. Something that I've noticed that seems to be pretty popular on teacher talk content is outfit of the day videos. And honestly, I think that's a pretty great idea. And it's probably pretty helpful for anyone who is new to teaching to kind of see what's acceptable, get some inspiration. And if there's no kids in the background, which during all of these outfit of the day videos I was seeing, the kids were nowhere to be found, I say go for it. But of course, there's always controversy somewhere. And there's one teacher on TikTok who goes by Teacher Bay, but she's gotten a lot of backlash over her outfits. Critics say that she's wearing looks more like clubbing attire, high heels, flashy purses, while she's literally standing outside of the classroom door waiting for her students.
My baddie, teacher bay neighbor. Miss Williams. Cause she's so pretty.
Other teachers have even called her out for it.
Oh yeah, a message for Teacher Bay. Absolutely unnecessary. It don't matter what figure you have, you do not have to dress like that. Because, you see that? There's no reason. There's no reason. Look, she sit down, very fluffy.
That being said, not everyone agrees. Some people argue it's not about the clothes at all. It's just that she has curves, and that's really what's driving the criticism. I'm curious what you think about Teacher Bay's outfits. In my opinion, I think if the district that she's working for isn't saying anything about it, then I guess it doesn't really matter what people think about it on TikTok as long as her, employer is okay with it. But I will say Teacher Bay, that username it's certainly a strange choice because if it was just the outfits, people were saying things, whatever, but also adding in the name, Teacher Bay, it just adds a whole other element to things, I think. And I can see why that brings in more criticism, which it does. A lot of people criticize her for her username too. So let me know what you think about that one. Anyway, scrolling through Teacher Talk, I'd say a good majority of what I saw really shouldn't be allowed. And mostly because in one way or another, kids are involved. Because here's the thing, it's not that hard to create content not involving students. I mean, I saw some teachers doing it right. Outfits of the day, classroom tours, tips, all filmed outside of class time. Some were recording before students arrived, others after they left.
Welcome to After the Bell with Mrs. McPee. Now today we had a task on our hands. We're heading into the fourth quarter and I promised my students that we would change seats at least one last time. But we're switching it up.
If you're a student teacher or someone who's going to be starting student teaching next semester, this one is for you. If you don't know me, my name is Brandon. I am a first year, fourth grade teacher. And quick PSA, student teaching is going to be the one defining factor in really your journey through education.
And honestly, I thought it was great content. It was content that makes sense. Teachers bouncing ideas off of each other, getting inspiration, classroom management tips, all the things. Definitely really helpful, I would think, in the teacher community. But gonna be honest, those videos were kind of few and far between. The videos where students were not involved. The accounts, I should say, where students were involved. And honestly, I have to say, I am genuinely shocked that so many school districts apparently are just fine with this. Like, really? So, circling back to what I said in the beginning, in my opinion, this really isn't a simple black and white issue of teacher content is good or teacher content is bad. There's a lot of gray area, and I just think personally, overall, there's a lot of ways to do this responsibly without sacrificing the child's safety, privacy, all of those things. And honestly, the easiest step is just to eliminate the children from the content altogether. Why, again, schools aren't putting their foot down on this, I don't know. Let me know if you have a child who's in school, if this has ever been talked about, if you know of a teacher who did this, if your school addresses this. You should probably find out. I feel like Probably a lot of parents are signing these media forms thinking that this is for the school's website, like I said, and this could mean a lot more. So you should maybe check that out. But a lot of it does come down to personal opinion. As long as the content is harmless and filmed during the lunch break or after school, why not? Teacher content can be genuinely helpful and sharing tips, tricks, inspiring future teachers, maybe even attracting bigger brands who want to donate to a teacher or to a school. And with all of that, teachers could make some extra income to supplement their income. All good things. What I think that teachers need to be careful with who are doing teacher content on TikTok is potentially getting lost in influencer culture just for the potential payout. Once you've reached hundreds of thousands or even millions of followers, yes, you're a teacher, but you're also now an influencer. And just because you want to be on camera, it doesn't mean everyone else should be or has to be for the sake of your TikTok. Not to mention, at what point are you spending more energy on the aesthetic of your classroom and how your videos look than actually teaching? Because let's be real, most parents are not worried about your online accolades. They care about the kind of teacher you are in the classroom. But I do want to hear what you think. These are very strange times. I come from a generation where we could not even have phones in school at all. And these were like flip phones, people. These were not the kind of phones we have today. But now we have teachers who are just whipping out these phones mid lesson, sometimes even pointing them towards the students. It's a very weird new world we are living in. And that's why I think these kind of conversations are very important and needed. So let me know what you all think about this one. I'm sure that we're all going to have maybe some differing opinions. Definitely sound off in the comment section. And thank you as always for being here. And I will see you guys in my next video.